Hi guys, I'm Dan at vintagevelo.org and today we are in for a huge treat. In front of me here we have the 2011 Specialized McClaren Venge ridden by Sir Mark Cavendish at the 2011 Tour de France, where he took 5 staged wins and the green jersey overall. Whoa, this is gonna be awesome. Now, no secret, today, the day of filming, is the start of the 2024 tour, where Cav is lining up, and you know, all fingers crossed that the guy nails that 35th or more stage wins at this year's tour. We're going to come on to his preparation and things like that this year later when we're out there on the road. But at the moment, it's the morning before the start. The sun's shining. We're going to get out there and ride this bad boy in a moment. Now, we're going to quickly go over this elephant in the room. As always, boy, Cav is a short guy. I'm a bit of a giant, and this is too small for me. Fortunately, Cav does like an enormous amount of reach as a 140 profile stem up front, so at least my reach is okay. Problem more comes from the fact it is just a bit too short for me overall. I've got the seat post on max height, and in fact, I'll get you in close. You should be able to see 2 white marks here. They do actually touch when you have it set at Cavendish's height. Me, as you can see there, I mean, yeah, I've at least 100 mil higher, and I could do with going up a bit more if I'm honest, but I've also had to add quite a lot of downward negative angle on the seat itself because of the extreme bar to seat drop. We'll come on to how that actually fits for me a little later. Not great, but then again, I am not Cav. This is Cav's bike. It was not built for me, but boy, is this thing built. We have Di2 throughout. Obviously, we have Zip 404s. We can also see the ghost of the high road, the HTC high road stickers, decals on here, which have come off. We also have the epically good Continental Pro Limited competition tyres, front and back. Those are, you know, Pro Peloton only tubulars. I think they're like 21 or 23 mil, but they were never publicly available. Also on here, the full SRM power crank setup. Batteries are dead, so we don't worry about that, but it's got the headset as well. That's all on there. Basically, this bike is as Cav stepped off of it after a stage at the Tour that year. Now, it's not the bike that he went on to win the World Championships at. That bike is safely tucked away at the McLaren Factory Museum. Which means, hey, we get to ride this one and see what it's like. If you remember last year, I rode one of his 2009 HTC bikes where he took 6 stages. That was pretty cool. But this, I think, is going to be a bit of a league above. As ever, we have what I would describe as a sprinter's cassette on the back. Yeah, it really looks like, if I'm honest, an old school 8-speed straight cut with 3 breakout gears bolted on the edge. So you pretty much got an 11 to like 18 gear, or 11 to 19, then with a few more, plus of course a 54 on the front here, just to man it up a bit more. So yes, it does feel a touch overgeared for the likes of me. For Cav, when you are sprinting to green jersey glory, hey, it's what you absolutely have to have. Now, one very fascinating detail about these bikes. Di2 2011 2012 have an external battery cage. Now, because Cav's small, they put it down there on these. Cav took one look at it and said, hell no, can't put it there. And he had his mechanics remove this, and up in here he had to make up a battery pack which they shoved up here, made it themselves, charged it themselves with wires running down to the Di2 through there. This is before Shimano created the seat post battery. And when I took this out to check that it wasn't cut, I looked inside, because the mechanic I got this from, one of Cav's mechanics, he'd explained about the battery situation. I looked inside and you could see on the on the inside of the carbon. You can see where things have been pushed up inside, and also there was still some packaging there where they kind of shoved plastic packaging around it to hold the battery in place. It's all still up there. This 100% had a secret battery hidden away up there to get it out of the wind before, well, at least a year before Shimano had done that. So that's what's referred to as the Cav battery. Fascinating, love a bit of that. Anyway, enough about this. The sun's shining. I just want to get out there and ride this hard. Well, the sun's finally shining and we've got ourselves a bit of a summer here in the southeast of England. Now, first thing I'm going to do, let's talk about the frame. Now, I've ridden this a few times, tweaking the setup as best I can to fit my almost 6'4" frame. And things I can tell you, surprise, number one, it's an incredibly comfortable bike to ride. And by that, I mean, if like you're Mark Cavendish and you've got to get through stage after stage, burning minimal energy, not fatigued, you know, not too tired, and then boom, explode at the end and win the stage, this bike will do exactly that. On the quality roads here in the southeast, this soaks up all the buzz and the little bumps and lumps really, really well. It's not jarring. Although it's incredibly stiff, it's not a jarring, thumping bike to ride. In comparison, I would say the Scott Addict that Cav had a couple of years before in HTC, that was a super stiff bike, but it was jarring. As per maybe that Cofidis Look 595 bike we rode a couple of years ago, that also super mega stiff, but a little bit jarring sometimes. I mean, obviously you put them on the roads in continental Europe, no issue, but here in the southeast, I really appreciate how good this frame is. Now, apparently, when McLaren started working with Specialized, developing this frame, they took the equivalent tarmac at the time, chopped it in half, and they were a bit aghast at what they found inside. They couldn't believe it, bearing in mind McLaren make some of the finest carbon fibre in the world, and what they found inside the Specialized frame at the time was not the finest in the world. They were shocked, so they went about developing everything on this frame. They tweaked everything, they changed everything, changed the layups, changed the way it was made, and you end up with this. And I've got to be honest, the ride qualities are just something else. Sure, it's a bit small for me. I could definitely do with another centimetre on the seat post, and maybe a little bit higher, because this is very, very slammed. But hey, a bit more yoga would sort that out, I'm sure. But overall, the fatigue of position on this, for me, doesn't set in for about an hour and a half. And this is a very extreme position, certainly with the seat post up here. So that is really quite something. Okay, I'm down low on a fast downhill, finally able to make use of that 54 massive main cog. And although this is very short wheelbase, very nippy in its handling, they've got it right on the limit of still being a brilliant descender. Any shorter than this would be flighty, but it's not. A Cav is a renowned descender, and they've got that balance perfect on this. Okay, not sure whether the audio picked that up back there, but this is a very, very short wheelbase bike, obviously being really small, but it's not flighty, it's incredibly responsive, kind of bike you would definitely want to ride if you were doing like a criterium race or something like that, or if you're in a high-speed punch sprint. But also, on the descent, the engineers have just got it on the balance just right, that it is still a really confident, tight descender. It's not flighty or jittery at all on that descent, despite being very, very compact. It's a real joy. And there's one other thing that is quite remarkable about this McClaren Venge. Now, I had this out the other day on a very windy day. and it coped with crosswinds and blasts of wind really, really well. Sure, the odd little jitter and jump from the wheels picking up the wind, but the frame, remarkable. I mean, I'd have thought an aero frame like this would have really suffered, but it didn't. It was probably the best modern style frame I've ever ridden in bad wind for handling big gusts. Quite incredible, really top work. So I'm well and truly into the meat of the ride today. Gives us a chance to appreciate Cav's McClaren Venge and just how impressive that 2011 year was for him. You know, kicks it off, win at Schelderpijs, 3 stages at the Giro that year, although one was team time trial, so not a sprint. 5 stages at the Tour. I think there was a stage or 2 at the Tour of Britain green jersey, and then boom, he finishes it up with a spectacular World Championship win. Really quite something. Now, it's not 2011 anymore, it's 2024. It's fair to say Cav is a guy who's had a seriously long career. I mean, it's something like 17 years currently in the pro peloton. And yeah, sadly, officially, this is his last year. We all would have expected it last year. But, you know, I'm sure a lot of us watched that terrible crash where he went out with his broken collarbone. And like Cav, I was as good as in tears as he's lying there holding that collarbone. He knew what had happened. He knew he was out. And that was not the way to go. Hey, how you doing? And yeah, I'm really glad he's come back this year. I mean, there's no doubt he's got the power, and now naysayers and plenty of commentators will comment on his lack of race miles this year. That's no issue at all. The plan for Cav, quite clearly, is to win at least one stage at the Tour. Why bother taking the risks of crashes, of issues? I mean, we saw that what happened with the likes of Vingegaard earlier at the Tour Basque, and you know, Cav, to be fair, if he hadn't fallen off and hurt himself so many times, he would have been well past that 34 stage limit mark at the moment. And without a doubt, now excuse the breathing by the way, this I'm still in the big ring, this 54 is ridiculous, not built for climbing. But yeah, he's been training loads both at altitude and in the velodrome in Greece with his Greek trainer. That's exactly what he did, certainly the velodrome training to hone his sprint speed back in 2021 when he exploded back onto the scene in true Cavendish style. So, you know, what's going to happen this year? Who knows? Maybe get in early, leave a comment down below. But in the meantime, I've got another hour to go. Well, it's a busy Saturday morning here down at the In Gear Pro Shop. Just thought I'd stop off for a quick espresso en route. No cake today because I've just had a cholesterol check and I've got to behave myself a little bit more. Now, Cav's McClaren Venge, obviously it's a stellar ride, as you would expect. I mean, does everything you could possibly want. How will Cav get on this year at the 2024 Tour? Obviously he only needs the one stage win to take the Merckx title, and let's be fair, that's what this is all about. It has been for several years. Cav plays it down, but it's an obvious one. I think he'll get one, and I think if he gets one, he'll get more than one. Obviously, as long as he stays upright and not hurt, that's the first thing. And yeah, I mean, there are a lot of, we've got, I think, 4 in a row, bunch of sprints coming up, tail end of the first week, beginning of the second week. Traditionally, Cav gets better towards the end of the second week as the other sprinters kind of burn themselves out. That's when he's at his best. But who knows? Usually, if he takes one, everyone gets scared of him and he takes loads. That's normally how it goes. But we'll just have to cross our fingers. Every sprint stage is going to be seat of the pants stuff for me. I'm going to be glued to the TV watching everything, so I'm sure a lot of you will as well. Anyway, do like and subscribe for anything else that's cool to do with vintage bikes. Thanks a lot.